Welcome back. They had a 3-year pause on student loan payments, but nearly 19 million of those borrowers haven't paid back a cent since payments resumed last October. President Biden already forgiving $167 billion of debt for nearly 5 million and is still pushing for more. Former Trump economic advisor Steve Moore joins us now to react. Stephen, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'll look at this. I think 20 million borrowers started paying, 19 haven't. So we're talking about half nearly aren't paying the payments at all. Is this something where the Biden administration, because of their posture on it, just isn't asking them to? How are they able to do this?
Well, they don't have congressional approval to do it, and they don't have Supreme Court approval to do this. So Joe Biden is acting as a dictator to basically forgive people's loans. So that's the first problem of this, is that this is not the under the authority of the presidency. He's the one, by the way, who blames Donald Trump for being a threat to democracy. I would say this is pretty threatening, too. But the other point I would make is, look, we are running a $2 trillion budget deficit, and Biden is throwing away hundreds of billions of dollars for people who should pay their student loans, could pay their student loans, and aren't doing it. And the question is, why should the cost of that fall on the backs of taxpayers? I mean, I think it's outrageous. I think most Americans do, especially, by the way, people who did pay their student loans and did the right thing. Why should they have to pay for the people who don't?
You know, as the son of a brick mason who owned his own business, I understand very well the unfairness that people perceive, especially blue-collar workers and people in the trades. But if we take our principled perspective out and say, okay, is it a net positive or a net gain? Are there any market indicators, any economic indicators that show this is helping or hurting our economy?
Well, it's having a very negative effect. First of all, who in the future will ever pay a student loan back, right? If the government's going to keep forgiving people to pay their student loans, then people who are the suckers, frankly, are the people who did the right thing and pay their student loans back. But the other point, I want to go back to this. Our country is going bankrupt. We don't have hundreds of billions of dollars to pay off in student loans. If there's a crisis in student loan payments, the universities that have billions and billions of dollars of endowments.
Absolutely.
Why don't they use their endowment money to pay off the student loans? Why should taxpayers have to pay for this?
You know, when the liberals are already heavy-handed in regulation, you think they'd be trying to make college tuition cheaper, maybe regulate that. I'm not saying that's what they need to do, but you think they would at least go in that direction. Instead, they just want to spend our money. I want to move on to a separate topic here that's almost as outrageous, if not more. And so what we have here is we have the country of Denmark imposing a tax on cattle, I believe maybe pigs as well, but at least cattle, livestock. And that is, I believe, their #1 export. And so what this tax looks like, it levies out to $96 per cow by 2030, and then that'll bump up to $241 per cow by 2035. Now, I do want to point out in the reporting there's this 60% tax break that will affect that, but no matter what the dollar amount is, you're taxing your #1 export and what people used to live off of in order to do a Green Deal. What do you think about this?
Well, this just shows the complete craziness of the modern day climate change movement, where they basically are talking about, by the way, just so your viewers understand, the left doesn't like cows now because, I guess I can say this on TV, when cows fart and when they burp, they emit greenhouse gases. And so what's happening here is they want to, basically, the environmentalists want to do away with cows as a way to save the planet. Now, I'm old enough to remember when the environmental movement was about, saving tigers and saving pandas and saving whales. Now they're trying to get rid of animals because they think they're destroying the planet. I mean, it just shows how outrageous the green movement has become. And I guarantee you, by the way, this may just be Denmark, but I guarantee you this idea will come to the United States.
Yeah, Denmark pushed offshore wind, and this administration has been receptive to that, even though it isn't practical very much for us. So it does worry me, and I appreciate you, Stephen Moore, for joining us today.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.